So we can use the grids here to kind of make sure we have some things lined up. But once again, we're in the concept mode. Once we get a concept approved from the client, we can be a little bit more exact with how it is. So we can use some other methods to find out if everything is aligned. So I'm just making sure the T and the D are aligned all the way across. And I'm just using simple boxes and eyeballing it for now. We'll get very exact because it takes a lot of time to get it perfect on the grid. So once this concept is approved, we can go a step further and really make sure everything is pixel perfect. And, we'll do that at a later time. So now that I'm kind of happy with this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be outlining the type because I want to customize the typeface a little bit, maybe round the edges just like we did on the inside to kind of match it so we don't have those sharp right edges and points on the typography. So anytime I do that, anytime I outline type lines, I no longer can go back and change the type. So I'm going to zoom in and do what I've done a lot of already, and I'm going to just kind of do my direct selection tool. I'm going to see if I can't round out this typeface just a little bit. I don't want to do anything too dramatic because if I make it too curvy, it'll look a little bit more childlike. So I want some curves, I want some softness, but I don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to do something maybe in between, maybe right about there, kind of see how that looks when I expand that out and making sure for now. So there's kind of our basic idea. And the only thing missing now is adding a little bit of color. So there's a couple things you could do with your clients, and sometimes I do this with my clients, is if you wanted to do it by the book, you would send them some ideas in black and white first so that they don't get color in their head and they don't get their cart in front of the horse and try to focus too much on, oh, the colors are wrong, when they really should be focusing on the core concept first. So a lot of times I'll send a logo in black and white. I'll send the first 3 concepts. We're going to do the other 2 here in a minute. And I'll send 3 concepts to the client in black and white so that color is not a problem. I make sure I mention that in my email. There's no color, and there's a reason, because we don't want to focus so much on color at this point. We really want to focus on is the concept good, is the shapes good, is the type good. There's so much that they need to focus on that when you add color in it, it gives them, they're overwhelmed. So I'm going to actually submit this, and I'm going to make sure my shades are correct. Eventually these shades will be color, but I can use varying shades of gray to communicate, different shades of color. So this is what I would send to the client if we can't take this concept now and create another concept out of it. We have a few others that we're going to do, but I always like to take this finished logo and kind of rearrange it, think about different positions to find different iterations. Maybe there's a different layout or arrangement that will work better than what we came up with. So this is where we just kind of play around and experiment. So I'm just going to copy and paste this and try out. I know originally we just had a C there, and we can do the offset path tool and see if we can't make that a lot thicker and just have the C in there. Maybe the G is a little too much. That's an option. What we could do is we can take this tool and maybe cut it right where the C ends. We're just going to do the shape builder tool. Go ahead and select everything. I love the shape builder tool. It's so easy to cut things out. And so that could be an option where it's kind of cut in half. You could kind of see the C, that could be an option. And this could be arranged a little bit differently. So maybe we could tuck this established date somewhere else. And this is why we keep live text over here so that we can go ahead and copy it and have it available to use. And what's great about this is it makes it really flexible. Because I can have a vertical logo, I can have a horizontal logo with this. I like to make letters that aren't as important a little bit smaller to have a little bit of type hierarchy. So now that the is not as accentuated because it's not as important of a word, but the Coffee Guild is. We could probably reduce the spacing here because we don't need as much spacing now that we're not trying to stretch it across the circle. So now I'm just trying to find a balance with this to see if this could even be a concept. And I would probably have to use color to help this be seen as a coffee mug now that it's cut in half. But the idea that it makes a C is kind of interesting. We could make a G out of this if we wanted to. It'd be a little bit hard to fit the G in there, but we can get some other type of ideas. We can play with the typeface here again. We can go back to ones, maybe the sans serif to add a little bit of character, or we can go back to kind of that same. I like this. It's kind of got a 1930s kind of look, which is kind of when guilds were really popular, like professional guilds. So that's kind of interesting. I still think this needs a coffee cup or something in the center there to kind of show that it's a mug, but I don't know. So let's keep that. But I thought instead of maybe having the C and the G, that we have the coffee mug. I think that looks great. But maybe also seeing if we can't make this a little bit more of a simple seal by just using the coffee mug. So just kind of messing around with this a little bit. This is kind of the second iteration I came up with. And I thought this was neat because it put a lot of emphasis on the cup, and we didn't have to do, this is a non-abbreviation logo, so there's no abbreviation, so it's kind of nice to offer the client a second iteration of a similar concept, and this would be it. It would be a focus on the coffee cup, and I can see if when this is applied to color, this would be a nice rich brown color, the center of the coffee, so it makes it even more obvious that it's a coffee cup or coffee mug. So you also noticed I added a little bit of a cast shadow down here, and all this is just a round circle, and I just went up and kind of did a little bit of a feather to it, just to kind of give it a little bit of that feather. And the final logo, we can always do a harsher drop shadow to make it keep with the flat design, because as you know, flat design doesn't use any blurred shapes or drop shadows, so we can always just do according to that little shape there. And so now we may need to kind of adjust our shape, kind of match that style. I'm just taking off snap to pixel off, so I have complete control over my pen tool here to make some adjustments. Zooming out, there's kind of the harsher drop shadow, or one that doesn't blur, so it's technically could be called a flat design. And so there's one option that could work, has a much stronger focus. See how you have the big black circle and you have the high contrast typography. It brings a lot more emphasis on the name, which this could look good. It's also more simple of a logo, so that could work. The clients may not like the idea of the C and the G, and so offering them this gives